So welcome to the program. Today we are going to do bean coaster art. So hopefully you signed up for this program. Very excited as to what we were doing today. I just want to welcome you. For some of you, you probably already know me. My name is Elaine and I do all of the teen programming. Brady is also with me today, kind of helping behind the scenes. So if you have any questions or anything, please just type them into the chat and Brady will let me know that there is a question. This is also a program that is a part of our Artfest month. So throughout the month, we are doing a lot of different Artfest programming. So if you are interested in doing some other art-related programs for teens, or maybe an adult one seems interesting, then please check that out on our website. And I believe registration is still all open for them. So you're more than happy to join. Okay, so I am going to start just out of curiosity. Does anyone have a glue gun that they're using today?
Yeah, I'm using a glue.
No, do we need one?
It definitely isn't necessary. What I think I'm going to do with the program is I am going to create one of the coasters. I am going to use a glue gun because it is a little bit easier, but it's completely not necessary. And then the other coaster I'm going to use with white glue. So whatever method you're using, you can follow along. Is everyone ready for me to begin?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so here are two coasters. I put my beans in little cups. I believe I gave them to you in little baggies. It's up to you. You might want to pour them out on the table. The first step really is to look at your beans, figure out what type of design you might want to do, and if it will work with the space that you have on your coasters. So for me, I'm just going to dump out some of the beans. And I'm going to get a little bit of a rough estimate of how many I need.
Grow some of these ones?
Pardon me?
I have a question, like, can we grow some of these? Then I'll save a few.
You can do whatever you want with your take and make kit. I tried to give you more than you would potentially need just in case. But as you can see, I'm going to get kind of a rough estimate as to what my pattern or design, or if I have enough of the actual same color to go around my coaster. So if you don't need to do super hyper planning like I'm doing right now, you can also start to fix the beans. So if you want a border, let's say of this color on both of them, you can either open one of the glue packages that I've packed for you and start to actually glue the beans down, or you can take a glue gun if you have a glue gun with you at home and start to fix the beans to the coaster. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
All right. So I am going to, now you'll notice that you do have two different paintbrushes and two different glues. So we do need to keep one of the glues to the side. So we are only using the 1 cup of glue to fix the beans to both of the coasters. So we want to keep this aside because we're actually going to need it later on in the craft. Okay, so I'm going to start my first coaster just by using some of my beans and starting a design that I think will hopefully look fantastic. Okay, now you do need quite a bit of glue just because if we are using white glue, it takes a little bit more of the white glue to have all of these beans stick onto the sturdy coaster.
both the glue containers the same glue, right?
Yep, they're both containers of white glue. And so we're going to use them both to fix these beans to the coaster. And then actually at the end, we're going to do kind of a homemade epoxy. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually mix the glue with some water. So it has a little, it acts kind of as a sealant with a little bit of shine to put on top.
Is it okay if I use a glue gun to put the beans down?
Absolutely. Usually when you're using a glue gun, it's going to be far easier. I'm just going to do one of my coasters with the white glue because that is the material that I provided. And then I will use the glue gun with the other so you can see both ways. Has anyone made any other types of coaster crafts before?
We have done pistachio shells one.
Oh, that's an awesome idea. I love that. It's nice too because they're reusable items, right? Like, what else are you going to do with the pistachio shells? That's a really nice way to reuse that material.
Yep.
So yeah, as you guys will see, if you're using white glue, I'm trying to put quite a bit on there because when we get to the stage where we're putting the sealant on it, we want to make sure that these are not moving. So we don't want to have them moving all over the place as we're trying to seal. Is anyone signed up for any of the other Artfest programs that we have at the library?
I wanted to, but I haven't heard about them until you just said them just now. So I'm probably gonna go sign up for them right now.
Aha, see? This is only the only teen specific ones, but there are quite a few different adult programs that are pretty awesome that Jess is hosting. For those of you who know who Jess is. And for who kids are in the program, there are quite a few different children's programs as well. Yes, please.
Okay. Take and make bean coaster art. We have the intro to 2D vector animation coming up from Tech. And then we have the take and make explore and discover fruits and vegetables with early on, and that one would be for children, but the previous one is for teens and young adults, the vector animation. I don't believe anyone can hear me very well. I can really see the mic stuff when I talk, so.
Oh,
Hey, can anyone hear me? Say something if you can hear me. Okay. I cannot be heard.
okay, so Brady's actually just checking the website for me and he told me, sorry, Brady, that's, we have a 2D vector program.
Intro to 2D vector animation.
Okay, so intro to 2D vector animation that's happening.
And that's for teens and young adults.
That's for teens and young adults.
And then Thursday, May 27th, we have take and make, explore and discover fruits and vegetables with early on, and that's for children.
Okay, and then we have a children's one that is a take and make around the topic of fruits and vegetables. So I'm not too sure the specifics, but that is, I believe, next Thursday.
So on the vegetable one, it just shows younger kids, but it's okay to do it if they are a little older or something, right? Like
it might be a little boring.
It might be not as amusing for older children, but I don't see any problem having older children also participate in the craft or the take and make with their siblings.
exactly, because one of the things I would like to share with you, like with the non-essentials closed, they can't even get supplies outside. So this is a blessing right now.
Yeah, we've had a lot of positive feedback with the take and make programs. Just as you said, it's hard to get to the materials. So at the same time that we try to purchase materials, we're also trying to reuse and use a lot of the materials that we already have in the library. Okay, how's everyone doing with their coasters?
It's going well.
Awesome. I am almost at the end of my first one. And another thing to actually keep your eye on in the next week or so is we are publishing all of our programs for the summer. So in the next couple of weeks, registration won't be open quite yet, but if you do want to check out some of the programs that we are running as the library in July and August, I know that Brady and I published all of the teen programs today, so you can see all of the teen programs that we have upcoming. And then, of course, the registration dates won't be until the month before.
The upcoming teen programs are, or for later?
No, it's okay. All right, I feel like my design's slightly bland. But that's okay. I'm hoping to take my coasters up to a trailer that I have kind of as a little summer getaway. Does anyone else have any kind of special way that they want to use these coasters? It's okay if you don't.
We got a couple thumbs up. I'm not sure how to interpret that.
I was planning them on using them just as art to maybe hang on my wall or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
I wanted to say, is it okay if I switch to my computer because my iPad is really slow and laggy, but I don't know if the
Absolutely.
meeting is open. Is there someone that has to let me in the meeting or something?
Maybe.
Yes, but Brady is working behind the scenes here with me and he can let you in immediately.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. See, my beans have to go the opposite way at the bottom because I did not plan. I took out the planning process. I just wanted to get right to it. So now I have some a different direction, but I still think it looks okay. Okay. All right, so you might be like me and you're a little cautious around the edges. The good thing about actually using the white glue is you can move them around a little bit. Like for me on this top row here, I think I might be able to squeeze one more of the darker beans in, which is a definite pro to using the white glue because you can manipulate them a little bit better. makes it harder for the epoxy step, but it definitely makes it easier for this step. So I'm just going to try to fill in where I can see some of my gaps to kind of complete the look of the coaster. There might also be holes in the middle you might want to stick a bean in to kind of make it more full. It's totally up to you. That's the great thing about this program, is that you can design your coasters however you want.
I have an idea. We can put like sesame seeds or green beans, the smaller beans, and stick them in the gaps.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic idea. You can definitely use any other seeds that you have at home if you want to fill in some of those gaps. 100%, that's a great idea. All right, so now that I've done my first coaster, I'm kind of just going to push it down a little bit. Hopefully, because the white glue is going to take longer to dry, we just want to make sure that they're in place. They're pushed down a little bit. Okay, and I am actually going to just paint a little bit of glue, not too much, around the beans as well. So as I said before, we're going to do a bit of a sealant on top anyways, and this glue does dry clear. So you don't have to worry about all of these white marks on it, but it might just help keep them in place. If you're not going to put other beans or other things in between, you don't want to shove any more beans kind of on the coaster, that you could paint some glue in between the beans themselves.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the summer activities, are they all online?
So I'm only, Brady and I are only responsible for the teen programming. So I know 100% that all of the teen programs are online. I'm not sure that all of the children's have been published yet.
They're hoping to do some outdoor ones, but it's not fun.
I would say by next week, you're going to see all of the programs published across the entire library. So it would probably be safe to wait until then, and then you can see all of those programs.
Okay, and I mean, like, are they gonna be virtual?
Oh, pardon me?
I mean, like, are they gonna be like virtual?
So for the most part, as of right now, because we are still in lockdown, most of our programs are going to be virtual. I know the children's team has tentatively planned some programs that can be done outside, but it really depends on the public health guidelines. So we're really hoping that we can get some outdoor programming in, but we can't guarantee it because we really don't know what public health is going to tell us we can and cannot do.
Okay.
Okay, so for those of you using a glue gun, again, I am doing the exact same process, so you don't necessarily have to watch me, but I am going to start with my glue gun on the second coaster. And hopefully you're not throwing beans everywhere like I am. So usually with the glue gun, I just like to do a nice little strip. And because it generally dries fairly fast, Gonna make sure that I line those up fairly quickly. And if you are using a glue gun, please be careful. We do not want anyone to burn themselves. Sometimes the hot glue scares us a little. So we just want to make sure we're being safe if we are using a glue gun. And you'll notice for those of you who are using a glue gun, I'm trying to do about half the coaster, half the width of the coaster at a time. Again, just because the glue is drying so quickly. And I don't want to force a mistake. All right. Has everyone finished their first coaster, or what stage are we at?
I'm almost.
Yeah. I haven't finished yet.
That's okay. This is the longest part of the craft. So even if you take a really long time positioning all of the beans and putting them on the coaster, the last step is quite easy and can be done, you know, even after the fact if I've already done it, completed it on my end. It's very easy to remember the last step. And that's why I love this craft so much, because it is incredibly easy to do. And it's one of those things, if you have beans laying around, it's kind of fun to do different crafts with natural items.
I totally agree. I would have never thought of this if it wasn't for this like project that we're doing.
See, and that's what's awesome. Now, I would say overall, I am preferring using the glue gun. So if you are ever reconstructing the craft, or maybe doing the craft with another audience, or, you know, with some friends, if you would like to, I do find the glue gun is fixing the beans quite a bit better. Again, it can be done with white glue, no problem, but I am finding that I'm enjoying having the glue gun. I'm also finding it's really nice to just lay out all of the beans on the table instead of keeping them in those plastic bags that I gave you or in the cups that I have here on my craft table. Just because it's kind of nice if you want to use the certain design on some of the beans to be facing up on your coaster. It's a lot easier to manage them if you have them laid out on the table. Actually, when I went into Bulk Barn to buy all of these beans, they were kind of like, wow, you're buying a lot of these 3 different beans. So I did have to explain to them that I'm with the library and we're doing a program. But they had a nice little laugh over the fact that I had very large, full Bulk Barn bags full of beans. I actually, when I was looking up this on online, there were some really cool designs that some people did. Some of them actually had their initials in the middle with the beans, or, you know, because my name's Elaine, having a nice E in the middle. And so I thought those were very cute. One person I think had a Mr. and Mrs., but they were using beans far smaller, because it would be a lot harder with this size bean to kind of do that type of detail and still have room to have a border and anything else that you might like. Now, the one thing with the glue gun that you have to remember that am just remembering right now is the glue gun kind of gives off a lot of little glue strings on top of the beans. So as it dries, it's just a good idea to kind of pull those, because you're not really going to want to see them on your coasters when they're complete and when we're putting the sealant on. So we want to make sure that we remove those before we're putting our sealant on the coasters. I can't remember what these white beans are called, but they are so neat looking. They remind me of I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but there's the little Greek evil eye jewel that's a little bit blue. And it's a really beautiful jewel that's on a lot of different jewelry. And so I really like the looks of these beans. I wish I could remember off the top of my head what they are called.
Let me throw some options at you. Are they navy beans?
No.
Great Northern beans? Cannellini beans?
No, they actually have the name I in the title.
Oh, hang on. I saw. No, I didn't see that.
Trying to think. Brady's throwing out suggestions to me in the background here. And so if you hear me being like, nope, 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 it means that's not what the beans were
Yellow-eyed
called.
bean?
Oh, I think they are yellow-eyed beans. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what they're called.
Apparently they have a mild, delicate flavor, as opposed to all the other stuff.
All right. Okay, so as I said, I'm gonna try to pull off kind of all of these glue gun strings that you probably can't see on my screen because they are very hard to see. But if you look up close and you're using the glue gun, you can just detach those a little bit to make sure, again, that you don't see them once we put on the sealant. It's a slight drawback with the glue gun. Now let me see how my first coaster is doing. Okay, so my first coaster is actually feeling pretty in place. I'm just going to brush some of these little clumps of glue that they were moving a little bit too much the first time. So just going to brush those so they're not so clumped. Still moving a little bit, but okay. Is anyone done their 2 coasters, or are we still just making our way through the second one?
I'm still on the first one.
Oh, that's okay. Take your time. I can also repeat the steps at any point. So whenever someone is done both of the coasters, I can tell you how you can start applying the sealant. And then if other people are a little bit after, I can also repeat that procedure, no problem. Oops. You can also put in the chat box and Brady will let me know if anyone's ready to do the sealant.
We've got one group that's still doing the second one.
Okay.
One group that's done.
Okay, so it sounds like there might be 1 or 2 people who have completed both coasters. If you're using white glue, I would suggest putting the sealant on the coaster that you started first, just because it's had some extra time to stick to the coaster itself. But if you've used a glue gun, then I mean, the glue gun one is pretty much dry already. And mine feels like it's starting to stick, but it's not quite there yet. So what we are going to do, so since I mentioned that we were going to take the other ounce packet here of white glue and set it aside. So we need this second one for the sealant, and we are going to use all of the second one for the sealant. We may not use all of it, but in order to mix it so that we get the properties of the sealant correct, we are going to use all of it. So what I've done is I've actually grabbed 2 tablespoons of water. So if you have, you know, plastic cup, recyclable cup, a cup probably that is disposable, recyclable in some way, you might want to use that since we are mixing glue in it, but completely up to you. So what I've done is I've taken 2 tablespoons of water and I've put it into the bottom of this cup. So I'll give you guys a minute to go get your water. All we're really doing is we're mixing this glue, this whole container of glue, with the 2 tablespoons of water. And so that second brush that we provided with you in your take and make kit, that is what you can mix the water and the glue with. So I am going to do that now. Try to make sure that you brush as much of the glue outside of the container and into the cup as you can. Just because, as I said, the ratio from water to glue is important in the sealant process. It's not make or break, it just will make it more effective. Okay, and then I'm going to spend a decent amount of time mixing this because it does take a little while to fully mix. As you're mixing it, it's also going to look very clumpy. So don't be deterred by that. Again, we're just mixing it until it becomes a little bit more of a smooth texture. And hopefully the jangle of my bracelets right now isn't too distracting.
I was watching the beads on the side shake. All the other beads are dancing. And I'm going to keep mixing this, but if you are working on a table, maybe a dining room table or something, it might be a good idea to either grab a piece of newspaper or something to put underneath the two coasters, just because with the sealant, we're really going to slap the sealant on thick. So we're not going to be careful about going over the edges. We want to make sure that we have a little protection on whatever surface that we're using so that, you know, us or our parents aren't very upset with us when they're trying to get glue off the table. So I am going to actually grab a piece of paper to put them under mine because naturally, like everyone does sometimes, I forgot that step. Okay. So even if it's just plain white paper, you're all good. I'm going to put both of my coasters onto the plain white paper. Again, just be careful with the one that you, if you fixed it just with white glue, because they still move a little bit, I'm finding as I'm moving mine. Okay. And I think.
How do I know when the glue is ready?
Are you talking about for the sealant?
Yeah.
So really it's going to be whenever, so for mine right now, it looks smooth and there's quite a few bubbles. So generally when you see the bubbles, and you see that it's kind of smooth. So for me, if I take my paintbrush and I kind of put it hovering above the cup, I'm seeing it drip without clumps in it. So if you see it drip without any clumps, then you're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So I now see that. So thank you for asking the question because now I know that I am ready. And again, now I'm going to be honest, the paintbrush that we gave you is a little small. So generally, if I were to do this at home, kind of a learning curve for me with the craft, I would definitely use a larger paintbrush. And you are putting it on very thick because this is going to not only provide the sealant, it's actually going to provide you a nice gloss on top of your coasters. So you can slap that on there quite heavily. I would definitely suggest larger paintbrushes next time. Now, I'm sure you could leave the coaster, like the one with the glue gun, you could probably leave it as is. It's just, it's nice to have that sealant because it's probably going to enable your, or have your coaster just last longer. Because if you think about what you use a coaster for, if you're constantly putting cups, coffee, anything really, it's going to wear over time. So your sealant's definitely going to help with that. And I would definitely, when you're painting the sealant on it, so you'll see that I'm making a bit of a mess here on my piece of paper, or maybe not because it's white glue. But when I was reading up on people who have done this craft, they said that make sure you also paint the sealant on the edges, so on the side of the coaster. Because I guess someone who had not done that had then a very nice, beautiful, shiny top, and then it looked very rough around the edges.
So if we don't use all of the sealant like for our 2 coasters, and we have some left over and we would want to make like more of them, how should we store it if we can?
I'm actually not too sure. I'm going to ask my behind the scenes co-host Brady to see if he can actually look that up. If we make our own sealant with glue and water, how we can store that and use that at another time, because ideally these little cups, you should be able to put it back in this little cup and, but we'll definitely find that out for you right now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I am recognizing that we do have quite a bit of sealant. I probably overestimated that, but it's sometimes better to have a little bit more than too little.
Oh, interesting. So it sounds like if you try to store it, probably it'll separate, but there's nothing that says it won't keep, but then you'll have to like remix it. Like the water will separate, the glue, I guess, will float to the top.
Okay, so
Oh, the water stays on top, sorry.
Brady is letting me know, he just looked it up for me, thank you, Brady, that you can store it. The only issue is that I guess the water separates from the glue. The water comes to the top. So you can definitely store it. It would just be a matter of having to mix it really well again when you open it back up. And that could be in, you could store that in room temperature, no problem.
Okay, thanks. And it's just made out of like white glue and water, right?
Yes, so the 2 containers of white glue that I put in the take and make kit, yep, was only white glue. And then for that amount of glue in one of these small containers, so you can keep it as a measuring utensil if you want after. It was just the 2 tablespoons of water that we added to it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. The one important thing that I might not have to say, but I'm going to say anyways, is that these cannot be put in the dishwasher. So please do not try to put them in the dishwasher, because that could be a little bit of a disaster. The other thing I want to say, if you're done putting the sealant on, it's a good idea to actually remove them from where we painted all of the glue here, because you actually don't want your coaster to stick to the newspaper, the piece of paper, anything like that. So in my case, I'm going to pick these up. And I am going to get a fresh piece of paper.
Someone said that they use pistachio shells instead of the beans.
So I definitely would use different shells or beans if you wanted to with these coasters. I think it's a great idea. The one thing I tried to make sure while I was planning the craft is that I wanted to make sure that my beans or any of my materials were the same size. So if you're going to use pistachio shells and something else, just make sure that both of those items are the same size, because having a coaster maybe that has divots in the middle because of the shell size difference or the bean size difference might kind of impact the usability of it. But if you are only doing it as an art piece and you're not necessarily using it for a coaster, then I'm sure you could use whatever you want. Okay, so we do have about 5 minutes left in our program. Is there anyone who needs a reminder on how to make the sealant? Okay, so yes, so just a reminder, again, I'm gonna say it just in case someone's still on their first or second coaster, one of these small containers of glue and 2 tablespoons of water makes the perfect mix. I would say to wait at least 12 hours for the coasters. I would leave them as is. I wouldn't touch them, move them around, especially if they were made with white glue. Only because with the white glue, it can easily shift the beans. But I would say leave them on your counter table, wherever you want. And in 12 hours time, you will see your beautiful glossy coaster.
Bentley says, thank you, they look cool. Allison says, thank you.
So thank you guys so much for joining us. Brady and I have had fun doing this program. We hope you have. For any teens in the audience, please check out our summer programming because we have a ton of really, really fun stuff. Even later on next month, I guess, because we're still at the end of May. If you have your exam study time, we do have a study break game night, and that will be a lot of fun. And it's kind of to blow off steam, to de-stress, and kind of do more of a wellness program that's for you to relax your mind. So please check our website. You can sign up for anything that you need. You can always reach us at teens@pickeringlibrary.ca if you have any questions. You can also find that on the website. But thank you so much for coming.
One person wanted to know, will the recording for this coaster be available online?
So just to address the question that was just asked, the recording will be available online. So I'm not 100% sure on which date that it will be posted, but I'm confident to say it will be posted online. You'll be able to rewatch it and recreate the craft if you so choose. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great night.